Good Friday. It's also Freedom Friday. So I'm jumping in to give you guys a whole pile of tips about how to get through Easter weekend. But really, this applies to every single big family get together or public holiday or anything where there's a lot of people and a lot of food. I want to help you guys get through the weekend. I've got so much to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to plan for indulgence, how to watch for all the triggers, how to get through a binge urge on Easter weekend specifically, what to do if you're the host of the party and you've got to make all the food. I want to give you some really good tips on how to make it as easy as possible for you to get through that without it resulting in a massive binge. So let's get stuck in, baby, and brace yourself, because maybe you need to get a pen and paper, in fact, because you're going to be wanting to write some of these ideas down. Number one, I always used to in the past have this, and I'm sure you guys have all done this, have this vision, especially at Christmas time. I do this thing where I'm like, this Christmas, I'm going to be the healthiest I've ever been. I'm going to run every day. I'm going to drink nothing but water. I'm going to eat nothing but salad, and everything's going to be perfect. And of course, it didn't take long before I'd absolutely blown that idea. And I was headfirst in the mince pies. So if you have that same thing, this is the best thing you can do. And I've learned this through making mistakes, right? Allow and plan for indulgence. You know what? There's just a few times a year we were absolutely given full permission to indulge, which means to eat more than you need for sheer pleasure. If you're hungry, eat. Eat what your body's asking for. Check in with your gorgeous tum tum and eat if you're hungry. But if you're not hungry and you're thinking, I wouldn't mind those Easter bunnies. I wouldn't mind that panettone with an extra glass of bubbles that I don't really need. You know what? That's called indulgence. And I would say this is the time of year where you get to do that and nobody will judge you. So I would say plan for it so that you can enjoy it, because it'd be a real shame if you had that mince pie or you ate that marshmallow egg and the whole way through it you were thinking, oh God, I'm terrible. This is so bad. Oh God, oh God, oh God. You're allowed to indulge this weekend. What is that going to mean on the flip side? Okay, when we indulge, we generally get some pretty clear signals from the body that that wasn't such a good idea. A little bit of indulgence, it'll be fine with. If you've really overindulged, you've really pushed it to the limit, you're lying in bed at night with hyena belly, like could barely digest all the food that you've eaten, then you're going to be grateful for your body for sending you all the signals. The discomfort is your body's greatest signal that something's wrong and it doesn't want what you've done. And we know that, right? But I think what happens is, in the past, if I was indulging, I always used to think, oh, my body's just going to keep all this and it's going to make me huge and I'm never going to stop and I'll never want to stop indulging, which simply isn't true. Because when you indulge long enough, and that can include being lazy. I mean, I did a video about this last week. You can check it out. We go in depth about indulgence. But when you do it long enough, your body starts to say, that's too much. That's enough. Something's got to change. And the way you know that is you start to feel discomfort. Or what I really enjoy is I notice that I might have lots of energy next week, or I might find that I have 3 or 4 days next week where I just don't really have much of an appetite. Or I might find that I've got huge mental focus, like my brain's on fire all the time. So look out for what impact the indulgence has. If your body's starting to feel really calm, that you're going to feed it on a regular basis, then there's no need to panic buy, like panic store. It's in a space where it's like, we've got way too much sugar in the blood. Like, we need to get rid of that. And it will make you want to move. By Monday, you're going to be thinking, I cannot wait to go for that run. I need to sweat this stuff out. I can't wait to eat a salad. I am desperate to feel healthy again. It's not going to feel good when you're going through the food hangover, but that's the point. That's your body giving you information that you didn't do such a good job, that it doesn't want that extra food. It's not like, yeah, give it to me. I just want to make her fat. It's going, Helen, what the hell did you do? Did we have to have that 3rd glass of wine? Did we have to have the 10th mince pie? No, and you knew better. But every now and again, we get to say, you know what, body, I hear you, but I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to do it guilt-free, and then you and I can work this out come Monday, right? So plan to indulge, because when you plan for it, now you can sit back and relax And you can go, you know what, if I feel like indulging, I will. I'll probably eat a little bit too much. I'm most likely to start feeling physically uncomfortable. I might even have a sugar hangover the next day. And I accept all the consequences, because this is one of those rare times that I just get to be really lazy and eat, more than I need. And it's all good, because I trust, and this will come with practice, that my body will ask me to sort that out on the flip side. That is your body telling you, wonderful advice, that it's time to change, that what you did was a bit too much and it needs to get you back to that lovely, happy, healthy Goldilocks zone. So be ready and open for listening for those signals. Now, for some of you in early recovery, that might feel like pie in the sky talk. I understand. Just give it a try this weekend and see where you go with it. I want you to go real easy. For those of you who've got a lot of recovery on your belt, this is an opportunity for you to actually enjoy the indulgence and practice the skill of indulgence. Okay, so that was number one. The second piece is watch for all the triggers. And when I say triggers, I mean relationships, things people have said that might trigger an emotion in you that could cause you potentially to want to binge or purge to soothe that emotion. I mean, food is wonderful at soothing uncomfortable emotions. It's incredibly useful, but actually, in the long term, it's only temporary. We all know that, right? So acknowledge that when you're at certain in certain environments with certain people, especially, you'll know there's some people in the group that tend to really set you off. Just acknowledge that that's probably going to be happening and watch for it. This is the part, we spoke about a few weeks ago, skill zero. It's the skill of observation. It's being able to watch yourself just without judgment and just being like, look at that. I just totally lost my mind over that thing she just said. Oh, my mum just said something which made me feel not enough. And I immediately wanted to go and binge. That's interesting. And now the question is, what do you do with that? So sometimes you can just notice it and be like, that's a trigger. Look at that. I wanted to binge. But most times that desire to binge that's coming out of an emotional kind of component, that tends to mean that something's not healed. If your mum or dad or your sister or somebody close to you says something that spikes something in you, it's setting off a train of thinking. I'm not enough. She doesn't like me. Whatever. I'm a failure. There's so many. It's setting off a train of thought that creates an emotion. So when you catch yourself in that emotion, you just try and slow it down and just be like, what just happened there? And what needs healing? If mum just said something to me which upset me, and now I find myself wanting to go and eat, face first into the nearest koeksuster. Afrikaans word of the day. I don't even know what the translation is, but it's like a sweet, delicious thing. If that happens to you, the new evolved recovery self gets to go, that's really interesting. What the hell is going on there? There's something unresolved here. And if it's a really powerful urge to binge, even if you do end up binging, even more indication that something needs healing. So we're not saying don't feel the emotions, although I want to empower you to turn all the thinking around and create new beliefs. But ultimately, that emotion, that thing that just happened, it's important. Because especially when it's family, if we don't take some time to think about what's the dynamic there that I'm still feeling, it'll keep coming up until we deal with it. So it might just be as simple as, that's my mum doing her thing again. Okay, I'm just going to let that go. Or it might be, I need to have a conversation with mum. And that's not always easy. So if you need to have a conversation with a loved one who you've started to recognize has a habit of saying things that create a sense of inadequacy in yourself, then have that conversation. But here's a little side tip. The way to have that conversation is never, you made me. The way to have that conversation is, when you did XYZ or when you said XYZ, I felt blah, blah, blah. It may not have been your intention, but that's what's coming up for me. And then let them have their say. The minute we say you made me, then people go in there on the attack, I mean, think about it if the roles were reversed. If your sister or brother or cousin came up to you and said, when you looked at me like that, you made me angry. You'd be like, I didn't make you anything. That's your own brain. You got to deal with it. It's the same thing, right? So take responsibility, take ownership of your reaction. The truth in it, we don't know yet. But at the moment, just say, hey, that's what happened for me. And I need to talk to you about that because I don't want this to keep happening. I need to resolve this. And if they really do feel that way about you, if your guess at what they were thinking is true, okay, then we need to resolve that. You got some choices to make now. You know, if one of your loved ones doesn't think too much of you, well, then we've got a whole nother story on our hands. But most of the time, their intention isn't to harm. So give them the benefit of the doubt. It's time to recalibrate those emotions, to recalibrate those thoughts, to check them for truth, and then move on. Find a way to heal what's broken. Now, I'll admit that in some relationships, particularly close relationships with family members, we don't get to choose them. And in some instances, the best thing you can do is minimize your interaction with them or walk away. It happens. You know, hands up. I did that with my father. I got to a point where I realized for me to save myself, I had to get out of that relationship, which was painful, but it was also the best decision I ever made. Now, I'm not suggesting you go and extract yourself from every relationship. Not a chance. I tried to do it with my mum. It didn't work. I love her to pieces. You know, I was going through a bad moment, but there are people that are so toxic, that are so bad for you, that the best thing you can do is minimize the time you spend with them. Because remember, we can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. And sometimes weekends like this test that to the maximum. So weekends like this can be littered with those kind of old traumas, those old pains that haven't been healed yet. So think of binge urges as a signifier that something hasn't been healed. And your job is to stay as calm as you can. Your heart might be racing, the energy might be pouring in. Stay as calm as you can and see if you can recognize what's prompting that. What is the thinking that created the emotion that made you want to binge to sort it out? So this is a big, big piece. This is high level recovery stuff. This isn't like a newbie trying to get through a bit. This is the stuff when you've already got through lots of binge urges and you're trying to deal with the bigger stuff now. But just know that binge urges always mean, if they're not just that old habit stuff, they usually mean there's something wrong. It hasn't been healed. I need to work on this. So look at it as a sign that something's still wrong or unhealed instead of a sign that you are broken. That is not the case. Okay, that was triggers. Next up. Oh God, people pleasing. Oh Lord. Okay. Most people that I work with, and I am one of them, loves to be loved, right? We want people to like us. So it's very difficult to say no to people. And it's very difficult not to do things that are in line with getting them to like us. This is one of those areas now where I'm going to challenge you to start asking for what you need, even if it's uncomfortable. You know, we always say in recovery, you're going to become masterful at being comfortable at doing the uncomfortable. So if you're in a situation where you're with a feeder, and I bet you've got at least one in your family who's always trying to push food on you to make themselves feel better, or because it's their way of expressing love. Your job now, you know, you're an adult. Your job is to start to say, thank you so much. And no, I won't have any. That's really sweet of you to offer. Or you can say, oh, that looks absolutely delicious, but I'm stuffed, because you've checked in, you're stuffed, you're full. And they're just trying to make you eat another portion of pudding or another chocolate cake. You say, thank you so much. That looks incredible. In fact, it looks so good. I'm stuffed right now, but it looks so good. I would love to take a little piece home with me. And I promise you that if somebody's one of those people that likes to give food for love, they'll just be so stoked that you loved it so much that you wanted to accept the gift, even if you couldn't eat it right then and there. And then you've got some feeders who might be going, oh, you're so skinny, you know, you really need to. They're constantly trying to get you to have the next piece of cake. Thank you and no. Thank you so much and no. And it's going to be uncomfortable. You need to start practicing it, because if you eat to people please, then you need to take full responsibility for that decision. And I would rather you got really good at not people pleasing, at recognizing when you're wanting to eat just to please someone, and then standing up for yourself and saying, oh, that is so wonderful. Thank you for that offer. But no, I won't have another piece. I won't have another portion of pudding. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wish I was hungry right now because that looks incredible. But I'm actually stuffed. How about maybe later? You know, I'm not saying this is easy, but you're going to get really good at it, and you need to, because otherwise you're just making your recovery 10 times harder by taking on board something that you didn't even want in the first place, or something that's scary. If you're in early days and you're not in a position yet to easily embrace, highly calorific, very indulgent foods, if you're not skilled at that yet, it might be the better option to just say thank you and no. you know Let me rather have something a little different today. I'm not ready yet to dive into a packet of M&Ms just yet. Of course, the goal is to not be restricting. So be aware if you're restricting out of a force, I'm not allowed, versus I'm just not ready for that. That's a bit scary. But if I'm hungry, I'm still going to eat, just maybe not that thing. Okay, I've covered a lot of stuff today, but there's a lot of stuff going on at Easter, let's be honest, or at Christmas time, or any holiday, really. It's littered with challenges. So on that note, you do not have to pass every challenge. If you're in early days of recovery and this is all new to you, see if you can just get through one and give yourself credit for doing it. Give yourself the €5, give yourself a high five. Do what it takes to make sure you acknowledge when you've just done something that's just a step in the direction of your dreams. So if you manage to do just one of these things, allowing indulgence, recognizing a trigger and working through it, soothing yourself with action instead of food, and being able to say to somebody, thank you, but no. If you just do that once, you've had practice at something that you're going to do lots more in the future. Give yourself credit for it. Okay, so feeders are not easy. People pleasing is not an easy thing to get through, but that's always the mechanism. Thank you and no. Do it with love. They're not trying to be mean. Maybe they are, doesn't matter. Do it with love. Do it with love. People struggle if you do it with love to continue pushing. Yeah. One of the things I like to use as well is if you're legitimately full, you can feel you're full, you've eaten too much, and you really don't want to be sucked down the rabbit hole of going further, in which case you might be in the danger zone. And somebody's saying, oh, don't you want to just say, I'm stuffed. Nobody can ask you to eat more if you tell them you're stuffed. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right? So just use that. I'm absolutely stuffed. Over exaggerated, because they will not be able to push. Or maybe some people will try, but you just hold your line. You're an adult. You get to say what you need. Right. Okay. What was the last thing? Oh gosh, yes. If you're the host of the party, you've got huge meals to make, that might be triggering in its own. That might cause you a lot of anxiety and make you feel like you want to binge just to calm down. Breathe. Take a deep breath. Okay, breath is a wonderful place to come to if you're feeling really anxious. The second thing is, we're currently in a pandemic. It's 2021. Masks are in. Wear a mask while you're preparing the food. People don't have to know why. You can say you think you're coming down with something, or you just, I don't know, being extra careful. Wear a mask while you're preparing. It's one of the best suggestions I've ever had. And that was back long before masks were in. It was really weird to be wearing a mask, but you do it because your recovery is your priority. So wear a mask while you're prepping the food. Remember, we need to taste something, but we don't need to keep tasting it 5 times. Once we've got the flavor, we got the flavor. And you'll notice your hand keep coming up to your mouth like hitting you in the face because you're so used to that habit of just constantly nibbling, if that's one of your problems. Another great tip for if you're the host is, first of all, make food that feels comfortable for you to make. That's not going to cause major drama if you're in early days. If you're not used to having certain foods, try and prepare a meal that gives you a sense of comfort. It's still delicious. People will love it, but it doesn't scare the bejesus out of you. Yeah. So, go for a healthier option if you can, if that makes you feel a bit safer, right? But the next piece that I love is, once you've had your meal and you've dished up, don't do the dishes. Please don't pack away the food. Allocate that for somebody else. You know what I mean? This is not your job to put yourself in harm's way this weekend. You might feel a bit lazy, but you know what? Tough. Not tough for you, but tough for everyone else. You're going to sit back, kick back, and relax. You do not need to be a hero today. You get to go, That was wonderful. Hey, Uncle Bob, Cousin Joe, I need you to clean up the kitchen for me. Por favor. That would be wonderful. I'd so appreciate it. You know what? Most people will suggest it, but we have this habit of going, no, 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 I'll do everything. I'll do the dishes. And you know why? Because we don't like it when people stack the dishwasher the wrong way. Or we don't like it when people are putting food in Tupperwares and it's chaos. You know what? Deal with it tomorrow. Tonight, it's more important for that food to digest so that you're not in harm's way and trying to like sneakily get food in while everybody else is relaxing. So make sure you pre-allocate it before your event even begins. Already decide who's going to be doing the dishes and who's going to be cleaning up the kitchen or in charge of it. Once you've had your meal, I want you to switch off. And now this is the next big piece of recovery over this weekend. Engage and be present with the people that you're with. You do not get that time back. So your job is, if you're noticing those binge urges to kick in, I want you to really engage and be present. If you notice a binge urge, refocus. Who am I talking to? What's going on in their lives? Get involved in their conversation. Keep bringing your attention back. This is a classic meditation. You notice your attention moving to food, bring it back. Where am I? Who am I with? Let me be with them. I don't get this time back. There's no guarantee of tomorrow with this person. I'm going to be with them, so present right now, so involved, so loving with the people that I love right now. And you can give yourself a big high five for doing that, because you will never regret the moments that you've spent really being present with your loved ones instead of off thinking about food. Yeah. So keep bringing that attention back. It's a skill. You'll get so good at it that the attention will stop moving to food. It will stay focused once you learn to put it there. So one of the best tips I can give you for the weekend is be present with the people you love. Every time you notice yourself wanting to binge or wanting to purge, bring your attention back. Be present with the people you love, because you don't get that back. You don't get that time back. And one of the biggest regrets all of us have in recovery is the time we've wasted, the opportunities we've wasted, the time we've wasted, the relationships we weren't present for, the relationships we potentially ruined because of the eating disorder. Today, this weekend, you get an opportunity to turn that around and to not make those mistakes again. It is one of the single best things you can do during a weekend like this. When you're noticing yourself wanting to binge, bring your attention back to who you're with, your loved ones. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Okay. Let's leave it there. I think I've been talking for a long time. That was a biggie. That was a big one. But I really hope it was helpful for you. And other than that, I just want to wish you a really good Friday and a wonderful weekend. And whether you watch this video again at Christmas time or whatever, just remember, you're an amazing person. You're not broken. You've done bad things. You've got a behavioral cycle in place that you're working on. You're putting effort in. So put in the effort and do your best. Your job is not to hate yourself for every failure this weekend. I want you to rather clock up every single win. That, just talking about the weekend, took me however long it's taken me, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That's how littered these feasts, family feasts are in recovery with triggers. It's a minefield. So it's okay if you don't get it all right. You will. You're going to keep on practicing. You're going to keep on taking it on. You're going to get multiple opportunities to keep trying this again and again and again. And you can fine tune and refine all those areas that where you slipped up. You know, if you manage to get all the emotional binge urges right, and you even got somebody to, clean all the dishes, but you slipped somewhere else. Okay. Well, at least you got 2 out of 3 right? So go easy on yourself. Clock up the wins, notice what's going on for you, and let go of the feeling of failure. So clock up every win. And if you make it through the whole weekend and you smash it and you have the best weekend, you were super present, you loved being with all your friends and family, you ate well, you checked in with your tummy, you indulged a little bit without guilt. If you smash that, you need to give yourself such a big internal high five, because that is really hard to do. Now, it may not be hard for Cousin Bob, but it's hard for you. So you get to give yourself credit. Okay, let me leave it there. Wishing you a wonderful weekend, and I'll touch base with you again soon.